Hello, everybody. This is John Marola from Keeping It Real Section 5 Football. And as you can tell, we are at Premier Sports in Grease Ridge Mall. And we're very, very excited to be here. First, I have to introduce my partner on my right, Paul.
Thank you, John. And again, yeah, I agree completely. Being here at Premier Sports, and this is going to be the home of our Player of the Week.
Yes.
That will be announced weekly, and we'll be having that first one coming out.
And the open microphone I have in the middle right now, that's going to be for our guest today is going to be Joe Munno, the owner of Premier Sports. He was also a Section 5 coach some years back over at Marshall.
Well, what's great, he's a former city school district player, administrator in the business world, coach. So we have a lot of different things we'll touch on with Joe today.
Yep, and we just like to say thank you very much for having us here. We're, like I said, we're very excited about doing it. All right, let's start off with we're going to go into week number 1, and we are not going to go over all the games in Section 5. We're going to take the marquee games. I guess what we should start with is the big one. It would be probably UPrep and St. Anthony's Saturday night.
Well, again, they're all big ones for the teams involved,
yes.
And depending on who you talk to is the big one. But absolutely, that's a huge game right out of the blocks for UPrep and St. Anthony's.
Yeah, they're playing the national team. So, and I give them, like I've said it before, I give them a lot of credit. They're going outside the box, playing other teams like that. It's just going to make your team better in the long run. And then that game will be played Saturday night, 7 p.m. at the U of R.
Well, I want to start out with some breaking news.
Oh, we got
right
breaking
away.
news.
Yeah, breaking news.
Wow.
And this is what we get at when you are with Keeping It Real Section 5 Football.
Should I sit closer?
You can sit closer,
okay.
Whatever. The CBA East High game is now moved to East High.
Oh, really?
Friday night. I think CBA, maybe they're in some transition with their football field facilities and may not be done, so they've moved the game.
So
It's be Friday night.
That'll be
Friday night at East High. And
Ah.
that's a huge game where you have the defending state champ, public school state champ, CBA coming to Rochester to play East High.
Wow. And unfortunately, but fortunately, we will not be at that game Friday night. Friday night, we will be at Irondequoit High School. And like I've said before, we're going to do it live. We are going to have a 40-minute pregame. Hopefully talking to a couple of their ADs from Irondequoit. And then a halftime, a little 5-minute type of interview, Coach Victor, and then post-game interviews afterwards with coaches. And we got to get those offensive linemen back in there because I missed out on them last time. So I got to get those guys back.
Well, back to that start of the kickoff season. I believe it all starts Thursday night,
Yes.
Battle of Greece. Greece Arcadia travels to Greece Athena.
Yes.
And that would be Thursday night, would be the opening kickoff in high school football in Section 5.
Mm-hmm. A couple other games that we're looking at is going to be the Aquinas Bishop Timon game. That game will be played Friday night at Aquinas at 6 p.m. 7 p.m., excuse me. Their director from Aquinas is here tonight, so he's kind of keeping eyes on us.
And you also have McQuaid traveling Friday night to Lancaster.
Yes.
For a kickoff. And another game that is very intriguing this weekend, too, is Monroe will play Clarence. And Clarence is a defending state champion.
Mm-hmm.
So the city schools between Monroe, UPrep, East, Aquinas all have very formidable opponents to start the season.
Yes, very much so. Like I said, I'm glad that these Section 5 teams are, getting outside, looking at other sections to play these non-league games.
When you mentioned that, Johnny, I'm looking at Victor is opening up with Cicero North Syracuse. So there's another one going out of Section 5 to play.
I think that one's in the dome.
Is that yeah, it's in the wireless dome. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It's a Friday night at 5:30.
Yep. There's another Section 5 team.
Yeah. Going out. And one of the other interesting matchups this weekend will be Batavia will play against the combined Leroy Kelmung program.
And that game, wow, who would ever thought of, a couple years back that Calmum and Leroy would be on the same team together. I wonder how practice has been going on out there. I'm sure they've been doing pretty good, and it's going to be really interesting, especially for the old timers of Calmum Leroy people.
And when I look at some other of the interesting games over the weekend, you have some new head coaches. Andre Fontenette at Gates Chili, they opened with Rush Henrietta.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of the new guys are going to have, their first, Eastridge, right? He just traveled from, he was Wilson.
Yes. After that, I'm just going through the list of down right here, and we're looking. Oh, we have actually one that people. This is a pretty good rival, even though, it's Attica at Oxford Academy, and
Where are they out of?
they're out of. They're downstate. I want to say section 6, but down like almost to the Pennsylvania border. And these are games that I've gotten here from. This is from our Livingston County guy, Bill.
Oh, Bill's a good man, long time head football coach at Perry.
Yep.
And had a great career in coaching.
So he gave me some games to to look at. Another one, Avon at Livonia.
That's always a big rivalry.
Yes. Yes.
I look at one right here. We're talking again going outside the section to play a football game. Canandaigua will play West Genesee.
And I think that's in the dome too.
It may be part of
that. That's part of that
kickoff classic.
It is. It's part of that.
So, those are all good.
But anyways, we've been talking about it for a while, but here we are. It's the start of football season, and like I said, I'd like to say again, I'd like to thank Joe Munno for having us here, and we're just really, really excited about doing this. And this episode right now, we're doing it on a Sunday. We have a holiday tomorrow, and then this will be out Thursday night, so people will be able to get it.
And that'll be on YouTube. And
I got YouTube, X, Facebook, and I just got Instagram now. So it's
always work. Yeah.
We're trying to get it out to as many people as we can on many platforms as we can. So we're real excited about that.
We're ready for our guest.
Okay.
And
here comes our guest right now.
He's working hard. And
we're going to pull him off the floor for a little bit. Oh.
We'll test you out and make sure you hear good.
I can hear.
Hear good.
I can hear that. Okay.
We're good.
I'd like to say, thank you. Appreciate you for having us here. This is awesome for us. It's in a place where sports is, and everybody knows where Premier Sports is in Ridge Mall. So we're just really, really, really happy to be here, and just want to say thank you for having us.
No. I'm happy to be here. I've been a longtime supporter of Section 5 football, so I'm really happy to get involved again.
It's great. We were showing earlier, Joe, I know this is not your first rodeo with Players of the Week. Tell us a little bit about how you did it in the past and how that got started.
Yeah, back in late 70s, I ran a Premier Sports Player of the Week with football. It went very, very well. We had a winner each week for 8 weeks, and then we had a Player of the Year. Coaches supported it, and that's the key. You got to have coach. I'm hoping the coaches out there will support this, nominate their kids. And I guess we owe that to our players. When there's something out there that's going to feature your players, possibly, then support it. Nominate your kids, and hopefully one of your players will win the award each week. So, it's got to be supported by the coaches.
Yes. Along with those lines, I have everybody, all head coaches' emails. I have all your emails. I'm going to put out a group email to the coaches in a couple days. And if you have any player on your team that you like, it doesn't matter. Just give me his name and what he did in that game. And we are not doing the voting for that. I have TV guy. I have a person from the TV station doing voting, newspaper, and the radio. So those guys, uh, they're going to be involved in this too. They're going to pick who the winner is every week. So, and I hope as far as we're concerned, I hope it goes to all over Section 5 because that's what we're involved in. I just don't want this to be like a Monroe County
all the
thing.
class
Yeah.
classifications.
So I, like Joe just said, I like to, if the coaches are out there watching or looking, you know, every Sunday night, even if you don't, if your kid rushed for like 100 yards or whatever, just get them in so we know we got them on the radar, and we'll just see what happens down the line.
Sounds good. Sounds really
Well,
good.
well, Joe, let's get started right away. I want to hear about Joe Munno as a football player. How'd you get started in the sport of football? And tell us a little bit about how the high school days were as a player.
That was a long time ago. I grew up in the city. I lived in the old Ninth Ward, and I wound up going to Jefferson High School. Dick Cerrone was my football coach.
Wow.
Who was the longtime president of Section 5 football.
Yeah, we had heard that Dick was your
Yeah.
coach.
So, there was no Pop Warner. There was no Vince Lombardi. You didn't play football until you got to high school.
Mhm.
So my brother played ahead of me, so naturally I followed his footsteps, and it was just a great experience for me at Jefferson. City Catholic football was very, very competitive back then, and it remained competitive when I wound up being a coach in the City Catholic League. I was the head football coach at Marshall High School. But what was it like back in the 70s and early 80s? It was predominantly a run game, not a lot of passing. There was no spread formations. All the quarterbacks were going underneath, and it was just rock 'em, sock 'em football, and it was different, and it's changed quite a bit today.
What position did you play, Joe, on offense and
I-
defense?
I played. I was a right guard, and I was a linebacker on defense. Yeah.
Nice.
And how was your team? Did you have a successful team? Were you, as far as wins, losses, how was it?
We were competitive every year. Every year we competitive. The big rivalry every year was Madison. We played Madison, and it would go. It was always a close game. And all the years I played 3 years of varsity, 10, 11, and 12, and I think we won twice. They won once. But
Wow.
great football games.
Yeah.
Great football games.
So let's take it from high school then. How'd you decide to get into education? And how did that all come up from your going from high school to college?
Well, I was one of those guys that I knew exactly what I wanted to be early in high school. I always wanted to be a teacher. I respected my coaches, my teachers. They were just great role models back then. And early at an early stage in high school, I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and that's what I did. I went to Morehead State University. I finished out at Brockport, and then I immediately taught in the Rochester City School District. I started my career 1 year at Frederick Douglass, and then I did 36 years
Wow.
at John Marshall High School.
Wow.
That's very unusual that someone would stay in the same school for that long.
Well, so when did the coaching start? Then did you start right away, or how did that all get?
Yeah, right away. I was teaching at Marshall, and my second year of teaching, I was driving over to Jefferson, my alma mater, and I was an assistant coach there. And then finally, I was persuaded to take my services where I worked, which I did. So, coaching was with me forever, from second year of teaching all the way to the time when I became the principal, and I couldn't coach anymore.
Mm.
So it was a long coaching career. Football was my first love, and I did it the whole time.
Did you coach other sports other than football?
Yeah, I coached basketball, and interesting, I coached lacrosse at
Wow.
Marshall.
When the city had lacrosse, right? They were way ahead before a lot of
Yes.
these even the county.
Yeah, I remember the day Roger Bunce was the athletic director. He said to me, he said, Munno, why don't you coach our lacrosse team? I says, I don't even know what lacrosse is. And I really, really didn't. But anyway, I says, all right, I'll give it a shot. So I went into this thing coaching it like a football team, but we turned out to be very competitive. We were the last city school to have a lacrosse program, and
Wow.
then it revitalized again.
Mhm.
Right.
But back then, I remember the best year I ever had. We played Irondequoit, who was the premier team back then. I think I lost 6-4 in the sectional semifinals. So we were competitive. Not a lot of kids, no freshman team. I think a couple years I had a JV team, but it was and that's a great game. Lacrosse is a great game.
Mhm.
Um,
Did you ever? Were a lot of the same kids you had in football were playing lacrosse for you too, Joe?
Absolutely, it worked out that the soccer play. Jeffers. We had good soccer teams at Marshall also. So most of the soccer players that came out were attackmen, and the football players played defense and midfield. So, and a lot of football players followed me with the lacrosse program.
Now back to your football coaching. Was your first coaching position? Were you assistant? Were you a head coach? And how did if you started as assistant, how long did you assist before you became offered the head coaching position?
I assisted quite a few years. Back then, back in the day, and Paul, you remember because you were a head football coach. When you became a head football coach, you did it forever until you retired.
Right.
Um, that's the way it was. So you got to pay your dues and put your time into the program. Um, so I was an assistant coach to Dick Palguda back then, and he coached several years. I assisted probably 10 years before Dick finally stepped down and retired, and then I became the head coach. Um, the interesting piece to this is when I became an administrator in the city school district, I was told I couldn't coach anymore. So I said, well, but I still want to coach football.
Mhm.
So I left the district, not as an employee, but I was the head coach at Aquinas from 1990 to 1995, while being an administrator
Right, in the city school district.
And then they kind of bend the rules again, and I was allowed to come back. I was asked to come back to Marshall, back to the city school district, and I did. And I finished out my career at Marshall, and then I became the principal of Marshall. And you can't coach when you're a principal.
No.
Yeah, well, right there, you have so much more responsibility. You're responsible for a whole school, not just.
Well, and besides that, there's no appeal. If
Yeah.
there's a problem,
Yeah. Yeah.
you can't be the ultimate boss.
Yeah.
And, but I was ready because the principal's job was very encompassing.
Was was that when that opportunity came? Was that a difficult decision to go from teaching to into administration for you? Because again, you were unknown. You didn't know if they were going to, take away the football coaching responsibility or not.
My attitude was always, whatever I'm doing, give it 100%. Do the best you can. Be honest with everyone. Be honest with yourself, and things will usually work out well. And they did throughout my career. It wasn't hard for me to move as I moved. I went from a teacher coach to I was dean of student. I was a department head. I was dean of students. I was director of center services. I was vice principal, and then I became principal.
Well, you had a lot of different hats you wore
Yes.
over the years,
Absolutely.
and I guess with the coaching, you're putting together a team, a staff, and I'm sure that same type things had to go into when you're a principal, putting together the staff you want in the building, and what were you looking for in both those type fields when you were a coach? What did you look for in your assistants, and when you went to become a principal, what were you looking for in your staff?
Always the same. I wanted honest people who have a passion for the job that they're applying for.
Mhm.
If you want to be a coach, it doesn't matter what sport. You have to love the sport, but but most importantly, you have to love kids. You got to, enjoy working with kids, enjoy teaching them, especially when they fall down and don't do well. You got to pick them up and help them.
Yeah.
So, and it's the same with teaching. You look for passionate people, people who are going to be just great role models for kids.
You talk about role models, and obviously I know you played for Dick Cerrone. And who were some of your playing days role models? Then you got into coaching. Which guys did you look to in the coaching profession? And then who'd you look to eventually when you got into administration that could help you out when you had questions?
Yeah, sure, sure. Well, Dick was always Dick Cerrone has always been there. I could always talk to Dick comfortably and confidentially. So Dick was always a great supporter for me with athletics. In the professional field, I had great colleagues, just administrators that worked for me. Um, we always would talk. We always would conspire together to make the right decisions. Within the city school district, my principal colleagues were very good. We were open with each other. That's part of it. The networking that you do, you got to make sure you have great people that you could go to and run things by. So that was, the key to me.
Mm-hmm. That's it's all putting a team together, and you look for
Exactly.
different pieces of the puzzle to be successful with that. But, and then you make the decision to get into the business field, and how did that start?
Well, I'm the oldest sole proprietor at Grease Ridge Center. I opened in 1984, so I've been at it for 40 years. I don't make a ton of money, but I enjoy what I'm doing. I've been retired for 15 years, so I have a place to come to every day. Um, I get to see people who like the same things I like, and that's athletics. My major product here is licensed products. I do big NFL products, Major League Baseball, NBA, and hockey. I also am a cheerleading distributor, so I do most of the cheerleading squads in Section 5. So again, I'm seeing those high school kids and the Pop Warner kids now that didn't exist back in the day. And I do uniforms for 4 different schools. So it's busy, but I enjoy doing it.
Yeah, it's got to be enjoyable. I'm sure some of these kids, you've seen them at the young age, and they continue on and come in here every year for new apparel or new equipment that they need. And
Exactly.
you knew them when they were much younger.
And every Christmas season, people that come to the mall, they come into the store, hey, coach, and they hug me, and then I have to ask them, tell me your name. I went through 36 years of great kids, and I can't remember everybody, but it's so rewarding when they do come in and hug me and say hello and wish me well.
Oh, that's great.
That is, that's, I have the same thing when you're doing something for so long and then you run into an old player or a student and you can recognize the face. And I'm looking and looking. I'm like, I'm so sorry. What is your name? It really, I'm not really good with names to begin with, but we've been doing this for a long, long time, and we've been almost been pretty blessed as far as
We have.
Yeah, there's so many just experiences I know we all have with kids, families throughout the years, and that's what makes that profession so wonderful.
Absolutely.
But we appreciate. We love to hear these kind of stories. How you started out and where you got where you are, and you've definitely made it to the top of the mountain.
Yeah, and I'm blessed. I really am. I had a great career.
Yes, yes. We good?
I'm good.
Okay. Now, at the end of our show, you've seen a couple of, at the end of our show, we will go 1, 2, 3, and we turn and point to the microphone and the camera, and we'll say, "Keeping it real, Section 5." Okay?
You got it.
And that ends our show. You ready?
All right, yep.
But
What-
if there's anything else, Joe, that you wanted to mention, you got
Yeah.
the mic, and
Yeah, if there's anything
okay,
else.
go ahead.
Yeah, what I'd like to mention is back in the day, we used to look forward to Saturdays and Sundays to read about and to see on television the weekend games, football. and it was highlighted very, very, very well. I'm kind of disappointed with the coverage that we don't get anymore. And you know, these kids, you're only in high school once. They all are playing their hearts out, and I wish they would be focused more on and celebrated more in the media. So I do challenge the media to, you know, find the resources to do football better so that kids and families can really see their kids in the spotlight.
Yeah, that's great. That's
So well said, Joe, and that's part of the reason that big reason why we wanted to start the podcast is to give Section 5 football exposure that sometimes is not there.
Wow.
And you know, we look forward to you know, people subscribing, watching the podcast, and maybe they learn something like we all learned today.
And thank the two of you for doing this.
Oh, this is like I said. I want to let you know. I don't even think we've talked about this. Last year around this time, we were going down to Ohio to watch Maslin play,
Mm-hmm.
and I was driving. Paul was next to me. In the back seat was that guy over there. He'll be nameless. And next to him was George Giordano, and
Mhm.
behind him was Sammy Casarino. So there was us five. We're driving down to Ohio, and you know we're talking about football up here, and exactly what you were talking about as far as you know where Section 5 football's gone, and I looked at Paul and I was like, you know, we should do a podcast channel. You know, we should have a podcast. And Paul goes, yeah, yeah. And I just happened to look in my rearview mirror and I seen George in the back seat and he rolled his eyes at me. Like, all right, yeah.
Good luck, right?
So yeah. So I took that as not like a put down. I put that as like challenge. Here it is. It's out on the table. What are you going to do with it? And this has been a year ago that we've actually came up with the idea. And like we said, this is all about the Section 5 kids, trying to give them recognition as far as varsity football players. That's the other thing too. I'm starting to get some emails from Pop Warner coaches, and we do not do Pop Warner, JV, freshman. We do varsity football. Um, when your son gets to a varsity football and he's a player, hopefully we'll have him on. And that's what we're about.
Yeah. And John, just tell again, so Joe knows this will be on YouTube and those.
This will be on.
This episode will be on this week, right?
Yes, this Thursday night it'll be on at 5 p.m. It'll be on YouTube, X, Instagram, and Facebook. So basically, all your internet needs it'll be coming out on that.
All right. And, you know, for parents that are watching out there, make sure you remind your coaches about nominating kids when they deserve to be nominated. And I challenge all the coaches out there, support your players, support your team, nominate.
This is a great way to get, you know, like we said, recognition to Section 5 football. And this is where we're reaching out to the coaches. And like Joe just said, parents, you know, if your son had a great game or something, you know, just let your coach know. You know, coaches, you know, they're kind of in a tunnel sometimes and they don't really recognize things. But if your kid, you know, had, you know, like a 200-yard rushing game or had like 10, 15 tackles or something, interceptions, you know, let people know about that. You know, let it be recognized. Okay?
Good.
Everybody good?
Sounds good.
All right, now we're going to do
What's the saying?
Keeping it real, Section 5 football.
You
Okay?
got it.
1, 2, 3. Keeping it real, Section 5 football. Good night. Have a great night.
Thank you, Joe. Great.
Are you listening? Damn. Yeah.